Greetings, my friends. It is Dr. Jimmy again, here in my creepy conservatory of doom. And lurking about somewhere, where the hell is she, is my dear little companion, Lenny the Wonder Cat. She's here somewhere. I know she was just in. Oh, she's hiding over there, hiding under the furniture, ready to leap out at someone and grab their feet. Probably me. Well, this is a lovely day, a beautiful Saturday afternoon, August 3rd, 2019. Do you know what that means? It's sort of weird. My light is very nice, but now you can't see my eyes at all. Well, even they don't glow as brightly as they used to with the other lighting. Oh, well. At least I can see a little better. Oh, there's Lenny. Hello, Lenny. Hello, cat. Yes, what a sweetheart. It is August 3rd. Do you know what that means? It's Saturday, August 3rd. It means it's less than 5 weeks to Horror Nights, kids. That's right. Halloween Horror Nights will start in 4 weeks and 6 days. Or 34 days at Universal Orlando Resort, specifically Universal Studios, Florida. Less than 5 weeks. Oh, this is such a wonderful time of year. I'm getting excited just thinking about it. Everything's going to be very soon. We'll be in the fog lurking around, enjoying all the wonderful scares of the event. Well, first, let's get this out of the way. I am wearing today a Harry Potter t-shirt. Yes, the Ireland National Quidditch t-shirt. It's a jersey, whatever. There's a patch on the shoulder for the, let me see, that makes it brighter. Ireland Quidditch. There's also an emblem on the back, but I don't feel like I want to get up and turn around to show you right now. I'm too fat and lazy. As seen, of course, in the motion picture, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. You know, the one where Edward died. Yes, Edward? Yes. You know, Robert Pattinson. Oh, Batman nowadays. Really? Yes. The twinkly vampire back when he was the Hufflepuff boy. What was his name? Diggory or something like that? Isn't that a character from The Magician's Nephew? Wrong British fantasy franchise. Oh, dear. Oh, going off on tangents already. Well, as I had noted in some of my previous cocktail videos, we've had a whole bunch of announcements in the past couple of weeks, and I hadn't had the chance to get back and talk about them yet. And now I have. Here I am. Hello. I'm going to talk about some of these announcements. And I have to first talk about the one that was given first since I last spoke. That is one that was given on Tuesday, week before last, July 16th, 2019. What would that be, 18 days ago, I think? Yeah, I think so. It would be, yes, 18 days ago. Quite a while back. Oh. And that was for... And we've had all sorts of announcements, of course, but it wasn't for Universal in Orlando or in Hollywood. It wasn't in the United States at all, but rather for Universal Studios Japan. And the full website went up gloriously. Now, of course, we have Horror Nights in the United States, in Orlando and Hollywood, but it is an international phenomenon. At least it has been for quite a while. Indeed, way back at the dawn of this millennium, there was a park called Universal Studios Portaventura, which also had Halloween every year. since it was acquired and became part of the Universal Studios family. And they had it there for 5 years, from the year 2000 up to the year 2004. Those were also horror nights. But, of course, when Universal parted ways with Port Aventura, they still do Halloween haunts there every year, but they're no longer horror nights, so those don't count anymore. In addition to Orlando, but currently there are still 4 Halloween Horror Nights events that go on around the world every single year. In Orlando, in Hollywood, and in Asia, 2 of them. One in Osaka, Japan at Universal Studios Japan, and one at Universal Studios Singapore. In Singapore, of course. And what had been announced Tuesday week before last was the fall event for Universal Studios Japan Halloween Horror Nights 2019. Yes, that was before some of the more recent announcements in Orlando and Hollywood. While we were waiting and waiting to find out more mazes and more houses for both of those events. Indeed, we're still waiting for more mazes and houses from both of those events, and we are, in fact, haven't heard anything about scare zones in Orlando yet either, although we hope to hear that soon. In fact, there'll be an announcement tonight for Hollywood, I believe, because John Murdy says he's going to be giving an announcement this evening between 5 and 6, most likely for the 7th maze in Hollywood. 5 and 6 Pacific time, of course, which would then be about 8 or 9 in the eastern part of the United States, like here in Orlando. So there should be another announcement tonight, which means it's a damn good thing I should get some of these videos done before I have so many more to do. But long before that, they announced the whole bloody thing for Japan all in one go. Now, before I get into the details, there's some preliminary information about the event in Japan. They started the first Halloween events when they first opened. I think it was around 2001 or something. And most of the Halloween events they had for many years were primarily daytime, family-friendly events with parades and trick-or-treating with characters, and they still do that. They first called it Universal Hollywood Halloween to fit in with the studio's theme, and then they called it Universal Wonder Halloween, and I think they're now calling it Universal Surprise Halloween. And it generally has a lot to do with the characters, the more cartoon-friendly characters that they feature there, which are unique to Universal Studios Japan. Because, that is, as far as Universal is concerned, characters that Universal would never have here, because they don't control those characters in the United States. For example, Elmo and all the Sesame Street gang are at Universal Studios Japan, whereas in the United States it is SeaWorld that holds the license for that. And as for the Peanuts characters like Snoopy and Woodstock and Charlie Brown, they have those at Universal Studios in Japan, but in the United States I think you'd have to go to Knott's Berry Farm or someplace to see that. And they also have the more Japanese characters, the Sanrio Hello Kitty characters. That's appropriate. And you can get some Hello Kitty merchandise in Orlando at Universal, but I don't think they have Hello Kitty running around the park, as they do in Japan. And so they get dressed up for Halloween and give candy to the children when they do character trick-or-treating, that sort of fun and games. But that's not Horror Nights, is it? Well, actually, the first time they did Horror Nights in Japan was way back in 2002, when they first had some haunted mazes, which were quite terrifying, I understand. But only one shot 1 year, and they stopped doing it for a very long time. And then it was in 2010 when they decided once again to have a more scary, horror-themed area at the Universal Surprise Halloween, and they did call it Horror Nights. Yes, so in 2010 they had a horror zone, a zombie zone in the streets. No mazes that year, just this horror zone. And from then on, they started doing a more full-blown Horror Nights every single year. So we've had mazes and what they call horror mazes and horror areas since 2011. So in fact, if you count all the real Horror Nights, there have been 9 previous ones, and this year's Universal Studios Japan Halloween Horror Nights 2019 will be the 10th Halloween Horror Nights in Japan. Now, a few other little things. They still do the family-friendly thing they call Universal Surprise Halloween. I have some details about exactly what that, well, not exactly, didn't give much about that yet, but I'll mention that later, what it's being called this year, all that sort of thing. But there's another thing. They of course announced on the site the dates, and I'd pretty much presumed when it would start. It starts on Saturday, silly Jimmy, Saturday, September 7th. Traditionally, for the past several years, the event started on the first weekend of September. Thus, it was always the first one to get going before Orlando was the following week. But now, of course, Orlando is starting the first weekend of September as well. And as the Friday night is only a press event and the general public is not included, it is Saturday the 7th that is the first official night of Halloween Horror Nights 2019 in Japan. So this is the first time in a while that we're starting ours first in Orlando, and then the one in Japan, and then Hollywood a week afterwards, and then Singapore finally on the 27th. So Universal gets to start, Orlando gets to start Horror Nights first this year for the first time in quite a while. But it will be starting on Friday the 7th of September, and will continue through, I believe, Sunday, November 4th. I think, if that's correct. Let me check my calendar here. Let's see, it's on August naturally, so I'll just turn the pages to October and then November. And yes, it's actually, that's Monday. I know it's November 4th. I'm pretty sure of it. And that's pretty amazing because that means it will go to Monday. Is that right? Let me double check that. Let's see. I had some things thrown in my imagery on this iPad, which I'll be using for visual aids in a moment. And does it have the dates on one of these? Yes, it's correct. It's going to November 4th, Monday, November 4th, long after the others have all closed. The ones in Orlando and Hollywood will be done. The one in Singapore ends even earlier. So this starts, even though it doesn't start first this year, it ends last. It'll be the last one going. And you know what's really amazing about this? The amount of Horror Nights you can get in Japan is astounding. Because, first of all, they have different sort of tickets arrangements, I believe. Instead of a ticket for the event, you get individual, some of it's included in your regular ticket for going to the park during the day, but then you get special event tickets for certain houses and attractions. Some of them have separate tickets, some do not. And sometimes you'll have to get a reservation ticket that doesn't cost anymore, but you'll need that because of the crowd situations. But the way that it works is this. Every day from September 7th to the 4th, the last night of the event, will be Halloween Horror Nights. It's not on select nights, it's the whole damn time. although it might get rained out or something. But for the most part, it's the whole damn time. Can you imagine that? How many nights is that? I can't even think of it, but I think it's 60 or something. That's incredible. And do you know what? The time that is Horror Nights at the event is much longer. The park closes earlier than the ones in the United States. There's some issues, people having to get trains back home or something, so it tends to close about 10 o'clock at night. Ooh, that's early. But the haunted houses don't open at 6. The scare zones open at 6, roughly. The houses are open during the day. Some of them open as early as 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. So if you go to Haunted House opens at 10, that means you could have theoretically a 12-hour of Horror Nights a day for more than two, for what is it, from September 6th to, yes, for nearly 2, for October, yes, for nearly 2 months, for 2 days short of 2 months. And that's about 60 days. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? You have an annual pass and go to Horror Nights every damn day. Ah, it's incredible. In the day as well as the night. So Japan does things differently. They also allow cosplay. So if you want to dress up like somebody at the event, you can do that in Japan. They don't allow that in the United States, but it has to do with a different culture. It's quite spectacular. For highly detailed information about the event when it begins, I would recommend you to Scott Yukin and his wonderful videos on his YouTube channel, You Can Do It. All one word, You Can Do It. Scott Yukin was a scare actor in Orlando. I think the last time he worked the event was as one of the colonists in the Roanoke Cannibal Colony House in 2014. And he went to Osaka after that and lives there. He doesn't work for Universal there, though. He does something else. I think he teaches English somewhere, probably. That's what a lot of people do when they, either for a company or for somebody. A lot of people go there to help people with their English. But while he's living in Osaka, he goes to all the attractions and events and posts about it on his YouTube, Further Adventures in Japan, You Can Do It. And it's quite wonderful, especially during Horror Nights when he does trip visits and explains what all happens and describes the haunted mazes as best he can, because they don't let you video inside very much, but he can get scare zone action quite a bit. So that should be much more detailed and wonderful when the time comes for that. Now, the website updated. Was there anything else about it I wanted to mention before I get into the details? Because they do things differently. I think that was about it. So, getting on to it, the website updated, as I said, on Tuesday, the 16th of July. And here is the first big visual. This came up on the website, and this is not the website. This is a screen cap that I put on my iPad. As you can see, it shows two different sides. They often use these pretty Japanese girls to help promote the event. And what you have is on the left side of the screen, some horror areas with zombies and screaming, and on the other side something more quiet, demure, and sophisticated. And that's because once again this year, as they did last year, the Dividing Halloween Horror Nights 2019, they're all calling it that also. Before it was always Halloween Horror Night, but in Japanese, and I think they still say that technically, Halloween Horror Night, but in but they have the English Halloween Horror Nights, even on the Japanese website, already there, which I thought, oh, that's different. They're promoting it with English name better than they had before. Also to be noted, their daytime event. And here is an image of that, as I mentioned. Now the Minions, the Universal characters, are being promoted, but you can also see in the same picture over to the side, Snoopy, Hello Kitty, and Elmo. If you look over on the right side of the screen, if you can see that clearly. And children, and the same lovely Japanese lady and some children having a heck of a good time at the thing. Now, so, and as I said, I have some, the website, of course, was all in Japanese. Fortunately, I do have some understanding of the Japanese language, having lived in Japan for 7 years as a small child. I don't retain enough to speak it fluently, and I can read only the hiragana and katakana scripts, and the Chinese ideograms known as kanji in Japan. I only know a few of those. I don't know, the hundreds of them you need in order to read Japanese fluently. So I have some difficulty because kanji is primarily used, but you can translate, of course, on the internet websites, and this time I used the Bing translator from Japanese to English, and it works pretty well. In fact, there's some interesting things that happened, and I was like, well, that's intriguing, like translating Bioshock not into Bioshock. Is that the right word? I'm sorry, scratch that, not Bioshock. Translating biohazard, or however it's pronounced, hazurudu, or whatever, biohazard in Japanese katakana, into Resident Evil in English. They actually knew somehow that biohazard was what they call Resident Evil. And they switched it that way for when I translated it, and yet the text itself is, of course, a literal translation that is often a bit off, because it doesn't translate meaning perfectly. It tends to translate, what the words in the sentences are, and therefore you can sometimes get something that's a little weird and a little surreal. But I will read those to you because it's entertaining and amusing. So we start off with this main page, which I will show you now, and you can see the same image, and it says up in the corner, Halloween Horror Nights, not night. And that image is on the Japanese language site as well. Universal Studios Japan, Halloween Horror Nights 2019. And I've never seen that on the Japanese language site before. And it always said in Japanese, Halloween Horror Night. So that's what it's called, Halloween Horror Nights. And oh dear, it did it again. So that's the thing with the iPad. Sometimes if you're not careful, you can go all the way to the wrong side. Let me get the image again. I have to scroll through everything and get back to where I was. Okay, and it says here on this page, limited time, September 7th, Saturday, to November 4th, Monday, 2019. The period of the exhibition is subject to change. Exhibition? I would never call it an exhibition, but that's what, like I said, when they translate, sometimes you get interesting translations. So it says here, jump in. Aha! Let go of me. If you step into the world of zombie swaying madness, I love that. Dive into a herd of unimaginable zombies and monsters and dance, becoming part of the story in the completely immersive horror Hotel Albert II Requiem, which reproduces that extreme fear. Resident Evil, pull the trigger in the extreme. The heart rate is max. All in capital letters, mind you. The heart rate is max in the door to the different dimension that opens with one's own hands. From the magnificent screaming horror to the ultimate adult horror, jump into the whirlpool of scale up of fear, and enthusiastic from the bottom of your heart. Now, like I said, when you translate, sometimes you get funny things. But it's interesting. But it does give a clue, and of course the divided picture. Once again, the Halloween Horror Nights portion of the event is divided into two sections. Two sections of the park, or around the park, what they call Screaming Halloween. I think that was Akuri Halloween, or something like that. I may not got it right exactly. And Otona Halloween, which is adult Halloween or grown-up Halloween, more sophisticated. Not adult as in naughty, X-rated, but adult as in sophisticated and not childish, that sort of thing. I suppose, that sort. So they have this adult Halloween for grown-ups and the more kid, teenager type, younger, wild, crazy street party, screaming Halloween. Those are both Halloween Horror Nights. But then they have the child-friendly event, which is in the day and night now, because they have areas for that at night as well. So that's now, although the whole thing is called Universal Surprise Halloween, that part of the event has been called since last year Koakawa Halloween. Koakawa, which is actually a portmanteau from words that mean cute and scary, trying to combine them to make a sort of new word like spoopy. In fact, it's about right. Spoopy is probably the best translation for that. So cute and scary. All right. Now, as usual, in the Screaming Halloween section, one of the main attractions is in the streets. As usual, it is the street zombies, as they call them, and they've had those ever since 2010. Streets full of zombies filling all sorts of areas of the park. In recent years, they've started doing themed zombies, like last year they had, or 2 years ago, they had the pirate zombies in the rain and the morbidly fat family and the clown zombies. Well, they're going a totally different direction this time. What it reads here is street zombies, which start at 6 p.m. until park closes. It depends on the day. For more information, please check the show schedule. It'll be posted from about 1 week to 10 days prior to the scheduled visit date. What reads is new zombies screaming in the area where monsters eat their nests. I'm not sure what that means. I think monsters are eating the zombies' nests. I think that's what it means, but that's what it says. When you step into an eerie and towering world, there's a hell street where all kinds of fear await you. Pirates too fat, in addition to the famous zombies of the remnant figure. Monsters of transcendent impact that has never seen the first race. In the Cave of Fear, that power was powered up in a wide variety of encounters, one after another. As you advance the step, weep. But there's a story behind this. One man who studies day and night to free people from the zombie hell that nests in the park. Dr. Chaos. But his real purpose was to drive out the zombies and rule the park with the monsters. It was his party at night, but humans were used as bait to lure zombies. The human race who does not know anything is Doctor Today. Come to the chaotic party. So, the street zombies this year are themed with a little bit of a backstory, and I interpret this for you based on that and what I could make of the Japanese and the illustrations. In previous years, they've had hordes of various types of zombies, and many of these are returning. The evil clown zombies, the creepy little girl zombies, and the mother with her baby zombie, probably, the pirate zombies, the morbidly obese fat family zombies. All of these will be coming back. But now there is an evil scientist, Dr. Chaos. Who is Dr. Chaos? I don't know. Doesn't seem to be a picture of him. But he has formed an alliance with monsters, not zombies, monsters, including good old Frankenstein monster himself. We belong dead. Yes, good old Frankenstein. Medusa with her snaky hair and what looks like an alien creature from outer space. There may be other monsters, and they're going to be fighting the zombies to take over. So it may change the streets after this year. I don't know if that's their idea. After, how long has it been? This will be the 9th straight year of zombies. No, yes, the 9th straight year of zombies in the streets. Because the first Horror Nights was way back in 2002. But since 2010, so this will be no, actually, this is the 10th. Hang on. How can that be? This 2002 and then 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, Oh, I'm wrong. I got it wrong. They didn't have Horror Nights in 2010. They did it in 2011. That was the first year. The same year Singapore started. Yes. It's 10 because of the first one way back in 2002. So everything I said before about 2010, skip it. That's wrong. It started in 2011. That was the year they had the big zombies in the streets, but that was it. Then 2012 was when they started doing more mazes and so on. And some people thought they'd started in 2012, but actually they'd had Horror Nights in 2011 as well as in 2002. I apologize for the inconvenience. I'm sorry about that. Somehow I got it into my head it started in 2010, but that was wrong. So the current, since they revived it, that was in 2011. So we've had, this will be the 9th year in a row. And in 8 previous years, we've had zombies in the streets every year, from 2011 to 2018. And this year as well, but now something new is added. They've mixed up the zombies, added all sorts of different types. Big gorilla zombie last year, I think there was. But now they have monsters in the street as well. Here is the image. Street zombies. And in the middle, you see not zombies, but Medusa, the Frankenstein monster, and the alien creature. And then the other zombies are all around them, including over on the right, lower right corner, you can see some of the morbidly fat zombies. And over on the no, that's on the left side. Yes, on the left side you have those, and some other heavy metal rocket zombies. And then over to the right you see some of the twisted clowns and pirate zombies, I think. And in the middle, though, are the monsters that Dr. Chaos has called up to deal with them. And there's going to be a sort of battle in the streets with the human in the middle. Bait for a street party of monsters and zombies. Speaking of street party, they used to have the zombie outbreaks of dance parties, flash mobs, where they would dance to Michael Jackson's Thriller, little zombie dance breaks, sort of like what they did at Vamp 85 last year, except they do it right in the street and then they go on a stage. Different parts of the evening. Then last year they started something new, which is a big zombie dance that the audience could get involved with and could participate in. You're part of the zombie dance now. And that's called Zombie Da Dance. And yes, that comes back. It's described here, again, the frenzy dance covered with zombies and monsters. Scale up, unprecedented in the production of surprise. The zombie festival of hell descends by the production which overturns common sense, by the production which overturns the maximum scale in the past, and rules the park. This year more monsters to encounter, for the first time also appeared. Sometimes the tense gets weird, like talking about the future with past tense. Dance to the sky, acrobatic performance, the unprecedented zombie monster dance that dances to the boiling flesh. Now, jump in. And illustration for that. Here is the illustration from the website, Zombie Da Dance. Yes, so you get to dance with the dead. Quite fun. Oh, they're having a wonderful time. That's sort of a show. Okay, now, the first, and of course that's all part of Screaming Halloween. The first of the haunted houses, or haunted mazes. In Japan they call them horror mazes. The first this year is an IEP Extreme Upcharge Maze. Now, they've had Extreme Upcharge mazes before, like Trauma, and this time, though, they're doing one on an IP, which is rather interesting, because it's Biohazard the Extreme, and yet weirdly, in the English translation, it came out Resident Evil the Extreme. Although on the artwork, it still says Biohazard. but it's, of course, although the R and the E in the words extreme are colored red. R-E, Resident Evil, clever. But here's what it says. It'll be in the New York area of the park. It is called not just a horror maze, but a survival horror maze. Oh, clever. And it starts at 10 o'clock in the morning when it opens. So like I said, it opens in the day, 10 o'clock in the morning till park close. That's about 12 hours every day. Wow. Resident Evil The Extreme. It's described as follows. That real restart to the super and extreme. Come back from the scourge of austerity. Survival horror maze that really experiences the extreme horror of the latest popular series. Resident Evil RE2 descends left behind in Raccoon City full of infected people. You set foot in the RPD police station. Can you survive safely from two routes, Leon and Claire? Zombies and creatures that attack. The experience of the horror that even hesitates to move forward and shoot himself with his hands on the trigger. Taste the ultimate sense of urgency, exhilaration. So, the best I can interpret from this is that there's going to be a 2-run extreme upcharge maze of Resident Evil. Yes, it costs a separate ticket, I believe, and I think I think only certain people 15 or older may have to go through it, because it's going to be more for, and if it's extreme like it sounds, they might even be able to touch you a little bit. And it sounds like there might be some shooting going on. That is, you might get a laser gun or something. They have done sort of Resident Evil interactive games in the past before, but this will be 2 separate runs, a Claire Redfield and a Leon Kennedy run. That sounds fun. Different ways. Look for the herbs to power up. No, not that kind of herb. That's still illegal even in Japan. Oh, yes. And it sounds like a lot of fun. And here is the graphic for that, which has the Japanese graphic, Biohazard the Extreme. But it is being... it's translated directly as Resident Evil. I found that interesting. See, as you see here where the writing is. Clever. All right. The next horror maze is one of their original horror mazes. Now, used to be they never did original horror mazes, but now they're doing them more and more. And this is also in the New York area. And this horror maze, also part of Screaming Halloween, as was the Resident Evil maze. And it's an original maze themed to Area 51, the notorious place near Las Vegas in Nevada, where supposedly there's real flying saucers and aliens. Although the picture doesn't look anything at all like the New Mexico desert. Or not, that's Roswell's New Mexico. What's in Ellis Air Force Base around Vegas? That's where it is. Not Ellis. What is it? I don't remember the name of it. But it says here, and again, this opens at 10 o'clock in the morning till park close, I believe. Area 51, encounter with unidentified objects. It reads as follows: an unprecedented fear strikes. Infiltrate the area where you eat the strange and xenophobic nests. Again, eating nests. I don't know why it's maybe it means something else and it's been translated incorrectly or has a different literal meaning, and oh well. But let's continue. As you set foot in the hidden area, Area 51, you witness a terrible conspiracy hidden in this place. An unexpected attack from a terrifying unidentified object. A completely new, shocking space horror maze. A ban on the unknown horror scares against the unknown that occurs in a different dimension. They seem to be hot on different dimensions this year. So here it is, the artwork for Area 51. there does seem to be some writing under Area 51 in Japanese. That could very well be encounter with unidentified objects. But we have a really cool alien encounter maze. People who loved the invasion scare zone in Orlando a couple years ago, they're doing a house in Japan, although it's probably less camp and funny and more scary there. But damn, aliens, what fun, if you like that sort of thing. All right, now, the next thing that came up on the website was not a maze. This isn't all the mazes for Screaming Halloween, but also part of Screaming Halloween is one of the haunted attractions, because they've always had attractions that have been given a horror overlay. And the first of these is the ride Space Fantasy, which is a sort of an indoor roller coaster, I believe, with the space theme, and this has been transformed into what they're now calling a horror ride. They've had other attractions, what they've called cursed attractions, but this time they're giving it a different name. This is a horror ride, and it's Space Fantasy, the ride, now transformed into Black Hole. And again, and this will be going on from 9 in the morning, because it's from park open. So whenever the park opens in the morning till park close. So isn't that nice? You can do at least one horror night thing the moment you arrive first thing in the morning. It's described as follows. The extreme thrill of total darkness. The fear of unpredictability strikes. Halloween Limited Dark Coaster. In the universe of darkness, there is no way to do it, and it will fall. In the midst of the unpredictability that cannot be seen a moment ahead, the despair that makes goosebumps stand will eventually turn into the ultimate thrill. Scream at the experience of a different dimension. See, they're doing the dimension thing, almost every one of these. Sucked into a black hole with a steep turn or spin. So, it's a dark coaster. It may just be all black, you know, they might just turn all the lights off and you get to ride in the dark. I don't know. But Space Fantasy, the ride, has become Black Hole, and this is the artwork for that, as you can see. All right, then we have the next horror maze for Screaming Halloween, and this is a return. I believe this is the 3rd year in a row they're doing Cult of Chucky. They did Chucky for 3 years, Chucky's Horror Factory, and then in 2017 they started Cult of Chucky, a different Chucky maze, and they've done it last year as well. So this is actually 6 straight years of Chucky mazes in Japan. He's like become the Walking Dead of Japan as far as, you know, get it every damn year. But in this case, they had three Chucky's Horror Factory, or whatever it was, 3 years in a row, because they do repeat mazes quite a bit there. And then this is the 3rd year in a row for Cult of Chucky. And it says here, Cult of Chucky, Chucky's Madness Ward. Because like in the movie, it's set in a ward of a psychiatric hospital. And this one will open at noon, and then go on till the end of the night. And it's described here as follows. In the hospital, that cruel killer is back. That horror scourge begins again. The more cruel and ferocious he is, the more attacked, chopped, and dismantled the patients. Get caught up in a real and uncomfortable world of tension that is pursued everywhere. Apparently this will be located in Stage 18, which I think is also in the New York area. Quite a lot of it is in the New York area. Here is the artwork for Cult of Chucky. Again, returning to the event. All right. So, another part of Universal, what they're calling Screaming Halloween. We have what is called Horror Theater. It's a cursed attraction, though, and it is Sadako. And this will start at 6 p.m. each night. And this is described as follows. Draw the fear of a curse that scares, the only Japanese horror attraction. Draw the fear of a curse that scares, all right? The only Japanese horror attraction. The usual attraction spinning on this day. A strange phenomenon in trouble that occurs one after another under the curse of Sadako. You will also experience the curse of Sadako. They've done this before. They've had Sadako, who is the character from the Ring films in Japan. Ringu, Ring 2, Raza, and many Sadako movies they've had in Japan. She's like their own franchise of horror, like, Jason or Freddy or Chucky in the United States. Sadako is like their big horror queen. And of course, she was adapted to America as Samara in our Ring films, but Sadako is the original. And they've had horror overlays on attractions before, and most recently they featured it in the Terminator 2 3D attraction, which they still have in Japan, even though it doesn't exist here anymore. And that's where it will be again this year. And this is the artwork for Sadako as a cursed attraction on the Terminator attraction. And usually what they do is you go in like you're going to the Terminator attraction, but then all of a sudden, that's not the right thing on the screen. That's that cursed video from the movie. Oh no, we're all cursed. And next thing you know, she's climbing out of the damn well and coming off the screen into the auditorium, coming to curse all of you. Okay? So that entails all of Screaming Halloween, which is only half the event for Halloween Horror Nights. The other half is Adult Halloween. Oh, sophisticated. And it's described here. Again, it runs the same period of time, but it says, to the inhabitants of beautiful horror, that special experience of dressing up in an artistic and distorted world is more dense and deeper. In addition to the power-up in Hotel Albert II, a fully immersive horror experience sold out last year, the adult Halloween area and the horror restaurant, which enjoy gastronomy in a mysterious high-quality space, also debuted. Now dive into the labyrinth of dark horror for adults, intoxicated by disturbing beauty. So, here is a graphic image for the entire adult Halloween concept, which also encourages guests to get into elaborate, goth, sophisticated sort of cosplay, which you can rent the costumes. But the premiere event is an extreme upcharge maze, a horror maze, which is called an immersive interactive theater maze. They did that last year, Hotel Albert, and now it's coming back as Hotel Albert 2 Requiem. It is described as follows. That fully immersive horror experience descended with further surprises. Set in a decaying luxury hotel, the fear is revived by further surprises and new developments. Open the door yourself, talk to the characters, witness the incident. The story you go on as a member, each different experience, and this year, the kakera of, I don't know what that means, kakera of the story you encounter brings you the excitement of your own. Here is the ultimate immersive experience that brings you into the world of storytelling. Now, I should point out, and what's interesting is under horror level, the content and horror level to experience in each person are different. So it can be very different experience for different individuals. It was based in some ways on the McClintock Hotel in New York and the Sleep No More, although it's not the same show at all. But they had the idea that you could go into different rooms and see things going on, and you might come in the middle or near the end of one scene and go into another room and be a part of the whole storyline. And there's rooms that you might miss altogether and discover the next time you go through, it was hidden. Ooh, surprise. It's very intriguing, very interactive, immersive theater in this maze. It's not just a haunted house. It's quite exciting, an immersive theatrical horror experience. And here is the artwork for this year. Hotel Albert 2. And, oh, he's not wearing any clothing. Are they going to get naughty? I don't think quite that much. This is Japan, but there's a certain politesse that I don't think they're going to violate. Oh, but it sounds like a lot of fun. Oops. Damn it. Now I have to go find the next page. All right, now, let's see. They have now this year what they didn't have last year. Now, they did do Hotel Albert last year, but they're expanding on it, obviously, making it a little different with Requiem. They also have an adult Halloween. They have a scare zone this year for adult Halloween. It's called Adult Halloween Area, the Cursed Rose Garden. So, what they often call a horror area, but here they're calling it an adult Halloween area. Again, it opens at 6. By the way, Hotel Albert, does it give it when it starts? Usually they do that. No, it starts at 10 o'clock in the morning, Hotel Albert 2. Yes. So going back, the zone, however, like most of the scare zones starts at 6 at night till park close. And it says, a whole new horror experience in an eerie and beautiful garden. The crimson rose sings to the labyrinth of mysterious but beautiful fear. Wandering through this garden where there was once a painful incident. The spooky man to the god of death, the decaying maid. And I love this next line. Again, they may have lost something in translation, I don't know. But this excites me. This is what I want to hear about Horror Nights everywhere. Listen to this. Get drunk in an I'm sorry, scratch that. I got too excited. Get drunk in an unbalanced photogenic space. I love that. Get drunk in an unbalanced photogenic space. That's like my whole life. That leads to the museum. What museum? I don't know. So here we go. The Cursed Rose Garden, and here is an artistic interpretation of what it might be like. Pretty. Now, I have a lot more left, but I'm getting close to an hour, and I don't know if my YouTube videos can exceed an hour. So I'm going to stop this one, and I'm going to have to go to Japan Update Part 2 or something. Oh dear, talk too much. So I'll see you in a couple minutes. If you are able to sit through this whole damn thing and then bother watching the next one. You little fanatics. If you really care so much about Japan. I hope there's people who watch both of them entirely. And I'll finish up in part 2. So see you in a few minutes at another video.